Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is a quick vocal warm-up. It's only going to take 5 minutes, so it shouldn't take too long. For those of you who didn't join us last time, I'll put the link on the chat box for the 5 vocal warm-up. It's really, really useful, and it doesn't take too long either. So let me send you the link. I'll play it from my end. So just to give you an idea, we're going up the keys, and the set will usually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and it will sound like, and you'll do different. So either you'll be doing a hum, so a or the trill, which is my favorite, the okay. So let me just show you how it will sound. Going up and then we're going down the key. So I think I might need to refresh this. So yeah. So the first exercise will be on a hum. So okay. So let's open up our larynxes and relax our bellies. And inshallah, we'll start now. If you have any questions, or if you're not sure what to do, just let me know. Okay, so we're going to start off with a okay? Right. So 1, 2, 3. Also, if you find it difficult to go up, do it up to how much you are able and your vocal range. Don't strain your voice, okay?
Now, mum.
Okay, so the next exercise will be on a mum. Same thing, we're going up the keyboard and then down. So it's going to sound like this, yeah? So mum, I'm sorry. It's going to sound like this. Yeah, and then going up. Okay, so let's start. And this will really open up your mouths to allow for a better sounding tune.
Now, lip roll arpeggio.
Okay. So with the lip roll, we are only going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you'll notice it's slightly shorter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. So okay, so let's start.
Now,
Okay. Right, so we'll stop there. So that was a very quick vocal warm-up. Again, it's only 5 minutes, so you can do this at home at your own pace. And it's much shorter than the vocal warm-ups that we usually do. So you only really need to take out 5 minutes from your time, and it opens up your throat, your mouth, really helps you with pronunciation, relaxes your belly. So all of these things are key for singing. Right, the next thing we're going to do is I was hoping we'd have a few more people joining us to do the next exercise. Which is absolutely fine. So what I'll do is we'll go on to the nasheed, which is the Salli Rabbi with the Persian poem Maulana Rumi, rahimahullah, Ashigan. So this is a poem from his Shams al-Tabriz. So I'm going to put the lyrics on now. So I'll share my screen and we'll sing along with Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad. So I'll play the nasheed as well. So let me share my screen. 1 second. Oh, there you go. Sorry, that's me. Okay, but not this one. Okay, so Ashigan, and we can sing along with Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad. Now that your voices are slightly more freer, your voice box is ready. Okay, so let's play the so again, what will really help you is if you count the syllables for each verse. There are 8 syllables each. If you're not sure about the pronunciation of the Farsi, I'll go through it again. So it goes like this. عاشقان عاشقان هنگام کوچ است از جهان در گوش جانم میرسد تبل رحیل از آسمان. And the chorus is صلی ربی علی النبی الهاشمی المطالبي والهاشمي المطالبي صاحب أصف نسبي وآله وصحبه. And then Nexare bahan, so you add a syllable there. Barhaste, retare ha ha. Araste, so you add another syllable at retare ha ha. Azma halali khahaste, shehufte id e garevan. And then the chorus, Salli Rabbi. In bange ha az bishubas, bange rahi lahast, again a syllable, ujaras, har lahse yi nafs, unafas, sarmi ko nad dar la mekan. Okay. And the last stanza, if I remember, dil suye dil dare shu, yar suye yar shu. So he adds another syllable. Yar suye he yar shu, bas ban bidar shu. Khufte nashayat bas ban. Okay, and then the chorus, Salli Rabbi ala Nabi. So he adds a few syllables to fit in with the tune overall. So let's play it now. So please sing along.
ای عاشقان هنگام کوچ است از جهان در گوش جانم میرسد طبل رحیل از آسمان
Hello, Ustad Mazuka, your mic is muted.
Okay, is that better?
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the tune is again.
ای عاشقان ای عاشقان هنگام کوچ است از جهان طبل رحیل از آسمان صلی ربی علی النبی الهاشم المطلب صاحب اصف النسب وآله وصحبه نگذار بان برخسته قطاره ها آرسته از ماه لالی خسته چه خفته ایر ای کاروان صلی ربی علی النبی الهاشم المطلب صاحبي أصفى نسبي وآله وصحبه این بانگ ها از پیش و پس بانگ رحیل است و جراس هر لحظه نفس و نفس سر می کند در لامکان صلی ربی حال النبی الهاشم المطلب صاحب أصفى النسب وآله وصحبه ای دل سوی دلدار شو ای یار سوی یار شو ای پاسبان بیدار شو خفته نشاید پاسبان صلی ربی علی النبی الهاشم المطلب صاحب اصفى النسب وآله وصحبه.
Okay, mashallah, well done everyone. So that was the nasheed of Salli Rabbi with Asheghan. Okay, the next thing that I wanted to do was talk a little bit about harmony. Unfortunately, we don't have enough people to do the exercise, but the next step was to sing this particular nasheed in harmony. And what that means is I wanted to get a few of you to sing different pitches but together. Okay, so using what we call a chord. So a chord is a combination of notes, and this is the basis of harmony. So if you remember in the previous lessons, I spoke about singing on different pitches, on bass, on alto, and on soprano. So using these chords, we will be able to harmonize your voices, but on different pitches. Although we won't be able to do it all together because we don't have enough people, what I'll do is I will give you the notes that we're going to be singing on. So it's a really simple exercise. I'm going to give you the keys and we are going to just do a normal R sound with each key. So matching our tune with each key. Okay, so let me give you a demonstration. So on the C chord, so again, the piece is played on a C major scale, okay, which I spoke about last lesson. So it's still on major scale. So the C major chord is like this. So the first note. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to match this specific pitch, okay, with an R. Okay. The next note. Okay, so there were 3 notes there, okay? Okay, now if I were to play them together, it would sound like this. Yeah, okay. So ideally, in this case, I would have a group of you doing this note. A group of you singing on this note. And a group of you singing on this note. But together, okay? And this is how it would sound. And we can go up the keyboard as well. So what I want you to do is, I want you to just give me the R on each note, okay? And I'm going to be progressing up the chords, okay? So starting with C. So R, sorry, 1 second. Okay. So just a R, okay, matching this pitch. Okay, we're going up. So starting with C, sorry, we're going to go back to, D. Yeah. So the next chord. Okay, and it would sound like this together. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Should ideally play together. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's not the best because I'm using my keyboard here. So if I go back to the first chord, and then we can go up as well, okay? Right, so inshallah, we will practice harmony a little bit more in the next few sessions. And then we'll go back to the Salli Rabbi piece, and then hopefully we'll try and do a harmony with that piece. Unfortunately, today will be the last session until September. Now, last lesson, I mentioned to you that I was going to speak a little bit more about the interaction of Farsi with Bengali. So we'll use the next half an hour to speak about, inshallah. But before that, does anyone have any questions? I know we don't have many of you on today. So you can either use the chat box or you can raise your hand and I can unmute you. Okay, I'll give you some time, but we'll just start, inshallah. Okay, so in, you can say about the 19th century, we had poets such as Gobi Nazrul Islam. So if you're familiar with Bangladeshi history, this name should ring a bell. Gobi Nazrul Islam, he was the national poet of Bangladesh. He was born in the late 19th century, so about 1899. So he witnessed monumental events of our country's history. There is heavy use of Farsi, Persian, in his poetry. But in general, his extensive use of regional dialects and other languages, Farsi, including Arabic, Urdu, really collected the people together. And some of the themes in his poetry included Islam, devotion, bravery, courage, fighting against depression. One of his famous poems called Bidrohi from which he earned the title The Rebel Poet. Bidrohi in Bangla means the rebel. It was a masterpiece of a poem, and it was on it was a critique on the or criticism on the oppression of British rule in India at the time. I have a picture of him. So can everyone see my screen? Yes, I'm screen sharing. So I'll just go to this slide here. This is Gobi Nazrul Islam. Okay. Okay, and I've just brought in a few lines from one of his poems, and he has a number of poems where he incorporates Farsi in his with Bengali, and this is just one example. This poem is called Qurbani, and it's on the philosophy of Qurbani through the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the lines that I brought, I'll read them out. Astana Shidha Rastanoi, Azadi Melena Ostanoi, Dastanoi She Shostanoi. So I've just done it in transliteration. Now, some of the Persian words that he has included in these lines, you have Astana. In Farsi, it comes from Astane, which is shelter, Azad, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that word, which means freedom. So a rough translation of these lines, the shelter, or in this context, the goal, can't be easily achieved. Freedom is not so easy to find. It's not cheap, meaning that it needs courage and sacrifices. Okay, oh, sorry. Right. However, the inclusion of Farsi in Bengali actually dates back to as early as the 13th century during Muslim rule of Bengal. So it's much earlier than we think. Now, Muslim rule in Bengal began with the conquest of Bakhtiyar Khilji. His name might be familiar to some of you. Bengal at the time was ruled under members of the Sena dynasty, which were Hindu. So Bakhtiyar Khilji began the conquest of Bengal. Okay. Right, so what do I mean by Bengal? Bengal is primarily present-day Bangladesh and West Bengal. West Bengal is the eastern area of India, and the state capital being Calcutta. So in Calcutta, you'll see they also speak Bengali. So I'm Bangladeshi Bengali, and you have Indian as well. Now, Muslim rule in Bengal had three phases. You had the early phase, which was initiated by Bakhtiyar Khalji. You had the Sultanate, which comprised of the Delhi Sultanate and the Bengal Sultanate. Bengal Sultanate initiated by Ilyas Shah in the 14th century. And then you had the third phase, which was the Mughal period. The reason why I'm speaking about the Muslim rule in Bengal is to provide context, because it was actually with Muslim rule that gave way to such a rich cultural exchange between the languages. And it was actually the generous patronage meaning the financial and political support of the Muslim rulers, that allowed Bengali language and literature to flourish and become enriched as well with the literary exchange with Farsi and other languages as well, which was otherwise Bengali, which was otherwise ignored by the Hindu elites at the time, who preferred Sanskrit. One of the mother languages of Bengali is actually Sanskrit. And in fact, I won't go into too much. We're going to focus more on the language and literature, but the Muslims in Bengal led the rest of the continent in political activism, economic development, intellectual advancements in both the religious sciences, religious and cultural press. Now let's start with the early phase. So Bakhtiyar, let's go back to Bakhtiyar Khilji. Okay. All right. Okay, so Bakhtiyar Khilji, he was of Turkic origin and from present-day Afghanistan of the 13th century. Now, his name might be quite familiar with some of you. It's you know, he's usually or is seen by some as a bloodthirsty general who massacred innocents, etc. But this is actually factually incorrect if you look into the history of Bengal at the time. In fact, when he marched into Bihar, Bihar was a state in the east of India, marched in virtually unopposed. The then Sena ruler, he was quite unpopular with his people because of the Brahmanic Hinduism he imposed. And Brahmanic Hinduism adhered to a very strict racial and cultural hierarchy. They had the caste system, and they also ruthlessly oppressed the Buddhists in that region. So Bakhtiyar Khilji, he actually marched into Bihar almost unopposed, and he allowed the Sena leader of the time to escape with his family and his aides. And legend has it that Bakhtiyar Khilji only had 18 horsemen when he marched into Bihar. Now, although I'm speaking about Muslim rule in Bengal, Islam had reached Bengal long before Bakhtiyar Khilji's conquest of Bengal during the 13th century. There were coins that were discovered which dates back to the Abbasid Khilafah. So we can say at least this much, that Muslim traders were visiting Bengal during the 8th and 9th century, if not earlier. So let's move on to the next phase. But by the end of the 13th century, with the conquest initiated by Bakhtiyar Khilji, Muslim rulers of the Sultanate became patrons of education, the arts, and literature. And through this, introduction of Farsi became widespread. And as you know, with language doesn't come in isolation. Language also comes with its own culture. So the customs and the culture of Persianate culture also was needed, which led to the emergence of a new Muslim culture. And Farsi at the time, although Bengali was spoken by the locals, Farsi at the time became the official language and court language, and it was also the preferred language of the aristocrats and the Sufis as well. Okay, so all right, before we go into the stages of Bengali literature, all of this allowed an influx of Persian scholars, lawyers, teachers, and educators. And all of these things together contributed to, you can say, Persianization of Bengali in the arts and literature. So Bengali literature is classed into 3 stages. So we have the classical, which was before the 1200s. Then we have the medieval, which is between the 1200s to the 1800s. So the Sultanate would be included, the Mughal periods, and then you have the modern, which is after 1900. So, example that I gave of that during the modern period of this incorporation of Farsi and Bengali was through Gabi Nazrul Islam. So this was, so these are the three stages of Bengali literature. Okay, now I'm going to concentrate on a few notable individuals who really helped, with incorporation of the various languages, specifically Farsi, with Bengali. So in the 15th century, we had a Sufi scholar, Sufi saint and poet named Nur Qutb Alam, 15th century. Okay, and this is, I hope everyone can see my screen. This is his grave, okay, and it was taken in 1806. You can find this in the British Library as well. This photograph. Sorry, excuse me. Okay, the reason why I wanted to speak a little bit about Nur Qutb Alam is because he was a pioneer in Bengali Muslim poetry, and he established something called the Do Bhashi tradition. Do Bhashi meaning two. Okay, so in Bengali, Do is two, and Bhasha, meaning language. So together it means two languages or bilingual. So Do Bhashi was an incorporation of Bengali and Farsi, or even Arabic as well. Okay, and poems, literature, they focused on incorporating these languages. Okay, so that's Do Bhashi. I actually wanted to bring in an example of a poem which had both Do Bhashi from that era, but inshallah I'll do that for next time. Okay, so he was one very influential figure in Bengali language and literature. Okay, there are a few more individuals that I wanted to speak about. One of them being Said Sultan, and then we'll move on to the other phases of Muslim rule in Bengal. So we'll look at some individuals in the Mughal periods. We'll speak a little bit about the history as well of, so not just the language and literature, but the history of that region as well, inshallah. So there's a lot of things that I do want to speak about, and then we'll move to the modern era. Okay, so we'll come to an end now. The only reason I'm not going to move on to the next figure is because there's a lot to speak about, and I don't want to stop halfway. So we'll just use the last few minutes for questions, and as this is the last session until September, so we will be continuing, but this will be the last session online. We'll just have the last 10-15 minutes for questions, and also if you'd like me to recap anything from this session as well. So okay, I think we've lost everyone. Okay, so Ustad Talha, do you have questions for me?
Let me see.
I think we lost Fiza and Ibrahim.
Yeah, they left a little while back, not too long ago.
Okay, fine. I guess because this is recorded, people can catch up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, we can finish off for now, inshallah. Also, maybe, well, I guess the last session I was thinking maybe we can, perhaps if the lessons are a little later, but in September, once the institute is open or reopened, we're going to go back normal timings anyways.
Yeah.
So that will be on which day did I do? Was it Saturday or Sunday?
Sunday.
Okay, it's been a while. Okay, Sundays, yes, Sundays. Inshallah, and hopefully we can recruit more. Don't have that many students at the moment. But anyway, yes, Ustad Talha.